You can talk to the Warriors about the weather, and somehow they start talking about their championships again. You can talk to the Warriors about the Super Bowl. They want to bring up their own champ. Like, we weren't even talking about that. And you sitting here complaining that you're going to be in Los Angeles, I don't know, LA, that sucks, watching basketball, the greatest basketball in the world, on somebody else's dime, staying in great hotels. Oh, do I feel sorry for you? No, you're ungrateful. What's wrong with you? Ain't no way that guy's going in the top 5.
With the 4th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida.
That moment, Vinny, when you realize the people who work with you don't love you.
I think you did that all on your own.
I did that to myself.
Wait, they're fourth to win the NFC? Hold on. I'm sorry, Connor. Let you get back to there. They're fourth in the NFC. Fourth one. It's Vegas high.
Welcome to another Women's Wednesday on Brother from Another. I am joined by the lovely Ashley Nicole Moss, and we have so much NBA to get into. Last night was game 1 of Lakers Warriors, and Lakers got the W over my Dubs. So there was a lot of storylines swirling after the game. Jordan Poole, should he have taken that shot? Just a lot of fanfare around this game. So let's hear what some of they had to say after the game.
Were you okay with that 28-footer that Jordan took, with Steph obviously getting double-teamed? Was that an okay shot? And what did you think of Jordan's game overall tonight?
Yeah, I thought Jordan did a really good job. I had the timeouts left, but I saw them double-teaming Steph at half court. So I knew somebody was going to be wide open if we could just get the ball out. And Steph did a great job. He got the ball out of the trap, and Jordan was wide open, and pretty good look. And, that's a shot he can hit. So really, happy with that possession. And again, that's, Jordan had hit 6 threes already. So it's a great shot for us.
Emotional adjustment was it to go from that Kings series, really different opponent, pretty quickly to turn around and play the Lakers. Yeah. What was that like to go through?
It was a quick turnaround, but can't dwell on it because you got a really good team over there, and they do things differently than the Kings, but present some big challenges, and saw that tonight. So the morale is not low. We know we let one slip away, but we got an opportunity to watch the film tomorrow and see how we can attack them better.
Ashley, you were tuned into this game last night, right?
Yeah, of course, just like everybody else.
What did you think about Jordan Poole's shot?
I didn't love it, only because of the amount of time left on the clock. I understood the rationale that Steve Kerr was referring to, and I probably understood Jordan Poole's mindset in that moment. Had I been in his position, knowing that you have almost 11 seconds on the clock, I might have tried to get a better shot. That's a lot of time. That's a lifetime in basketball. I probably would have tried to even lean into the shot a little bit more to force a foul. Worst comes to worst, you get to the line. I don't know. I understand, in the heat of the moment, you go ahead and, like Steve Kerr pointed out, he was hitting threes all game. So it's not like he was having an off night. But I just think that you also have to be aware not only of your skill set, but the time on the shot clock. And the time on the shot clock awarded you an opportunity to make a better decision, especially when your 2 stars, Clay and Steph, are both being guarded. The defenders aren't going to come off of them. You probably would have had a little bit more space had you decided to maybe dribble that out, try to find a different spot, maybe a little bit closer to the basket. I'm not 100% in love with the decision making. I don't 100% hate it. I would have maneuvered a little bit differently if I was in his position.
Yeah, it's a big debate today. And Tyrese Halliburton is getting clowned because he was supporting the shot. And by the way, so do I. Not just because I'm a Warriors fan, but it's a shot that Jordan Poole can hit. And like, if it was a night where he wasn't hitting, then I would be a little less comfortable with it. I also think he takes a step forward, a little bit more time expires, and the defense has time to recover. So I like the shot. He was wide open, like butt naked open. I feel like he has a target on his back. Like, even before this game, Snoop was like on TV and was like, oh, keep shooting, Jordan Poole. You know, so I just feel like right now he didn't have a great last series versus the Kings. And so I feel like there's this like hyper criticism of Jordan Poole right now. But for him on that day, hitting the way that he was, I was okay with the shot. You know, I don't think it deserves the vitriol it's getting today.
No, I agree. And I mean, I think he had a better performance in this one game he did in the entire series. So I don't know how you can watch it and say, oh, Jordan Poole's up to Jordan Poole ways again, whatever that means. I mean, yes, would maybe have Steph had hit that shot had he been open? Probably. I don't think that's a knock to Jordan Poole. It's just we're talking about Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. So I don't know if that's a knock. Now, I can understand, you know, taking that shot, like you said, wide open shot. I can also understand maybe somebody wanting a little bit more of better decision making with the time on the clock. I would have understood that shot a little bit more had it been 1.5, 2.5, 2 seconds left on the clock, 1 second left on the clock. Then you make that shot. I think some people are maybe rubbed the wrong way by it just because of the time allowed. Also, I think some people are also looking at Steve Kerr. You had 2 timeouts in your back pocket. You can't take them with you. You saw that your best player was double teamed. You saw that Clay also had a defender on him. You saw that Jordan maybe possibly had a shot. Maybe it wasn't the shot you would have drawn up had you had more time. The timeouts allow you more time. I can also understand someone saying, well, you call a timeout, you also give the defense a time to get set. I understand multiple perspectives from the argument. I'm one and a believer of the time allowed on the clock gives you an opportunity to make a better decision. Take that gift. But I can also understand, hey, look, I got 10 seconds, but this is the shot I have. Let me chuck it up and see what happens. It happens, the name of the game, but I think that the Warriors are more than equipped to bounce back from this.
Yeah, and I mean, the Lakers got the W, and the story of the game last night, of course, is Anthony Davis, right? He went off, and the Warriors could not stop him. And so he had an amazing game. But, you know, Ashley, you were on the show, I want to say it was last week but recently, and when we were talking about the Lakers and the Grizzlies series, and one of the points we were making then is like, if you get the version of AD that showed up last night, right, in every game, then yeah, the Lakers are super hard to beat. But even in the Grizzlies series, while Anthony Davis and the Lakers did win, he wasn't consistently a dominant performer each night. You know, it was like every other night. So I don't think, and it's not to take away from the greatness of Anthony Davis, but especially with the schedule for this series being every other night, I think while the Warriors are also older in terms of their key stars, I think that bodes better for them as the series wears on, because I don't think he's going to be able to keep putting up performances like that throughout the series. Not consistently. I think you'll get a few more, but I think you'll get some where it's like, 20 points, not as many rebounds. And also, it looked like the Warriors figured out something in that fourth quarter. That's how they were able to make that run and get back in the game. Steph tied it up at one point. So I agree with you. I think the Warriors can bounce back. I think this is going to be a back and forth series. You know, I don't want to look too far ahead, but I think probably like after 4 games, we're going to see 2-2 and then see what happens from there.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis, 30 points, 23 rebounds is absolutely insane. Can he do that again? Sure. Will he do it again? That's the big question. The consistency of Anthony Davis, I mean, obviously health is always in the background as well, but the consistency of Anthony Davis has been one of the biggest question marks with his game, because I say it all the time, when he's at his best, he's unstoppable. He is the X factor for the Lakers to go ahead and win this series. But how many times will you get that version or even a fraction of that version from him is the biggest question mark. Also, when looking at this series, I think we got the best performance from the Lakers that we have seen and probably will see in this series. And the Warriors did not play great. They played good, but they didn't play great. And that game was extremely close. So if I'm the Lakers and I'm a Laker fan, I'm taking the win. Obviously, a win is a win, especially when you get it on the road. But I'm also looking at it like we played our best basketball in that game. The Warriors did not play their best game, and we still barely beat them. So how do we go ahead and do this again when they're at their best? Because the Warriors will come with their best probably in the next game. So how do you go ahead and combat that? That's going to be the biggest question on who can go ahead and sustain the longevity and the up and down of this series, and ultimately probably give you an idea of who's going to win it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Kerr gave a little preview to that last night when they went small and they took Steph off the ball. So, I mean, Darvin Ham, and also we know LeBron James is brilliant. So they're expecting the adjustments. They're expecting the changes. There was also a huge free throw disparity last night. I mean, like, the Lakers, I believe, had like 23 more free throw attempts than the Warriors. The Warriors had 6 free throw attempts in total. There we go. I mean, Dennis Schroeder had 10? That's not normal for him. So they definitely got the W. But I think if you're the Warriors, I mean, Clay mentioned in his post game, you know, we let one go. But I think, not that we're here for moral victories, but coming off of a long 7-game daunting series with the Kings and basically almost being in this one able to win it, I think the Warriors should feel good about themselves. And you got a good Jordan Poole game. So that's already a bounce back. And then also, I have to shout out my boy, Kevon Looney, today, you know, and he was dominant again, 20 boards. I mean, he's even shocking Warriors fans. I think the Warriors should be optimistic.
No, he looks like the second coming of Dennis Rodman out there. Like, it's special what he's doing. I agree. Listen, I think the Warriors are more than equipped to bounce back from a loss like this. I mean, we're talking about a team who can flip that championship switch whenever they want to. I just think that the Lakers' adjustments are going to be the key in how long this series goes. I'm still leaning towards the Warriors in this series because I have just learned a lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn, is that you don't count out championship DNA. We have seen this story before. We saw it last series. We have seen it consistently. We saw it the season before last. Oh no, we saw it last season rather, when everyone thought they were too washed, the window had closed. And what happened? They go ahead and they win a championship, right. Steph's finals MVP. So I have just learned, kind of like when Tom Brady was playing football, you don't really count out Tom Brady. It's not a safe bet. But I do think that a lot of people maybe underestimated this series and thought that it was going to be a little bit more lopsided than it's turning out to be. And again, one game does not dictate the entire series. I'm going to be interested to see when the Lakers and the Warriors play again, and the Warriors are a much better version of what we saw last night, how the Lakers respond. That is going to set the tone for this series. The Lakers stole one, absolutely, but I need to see the Warriors play their best basketball, and the Lakers, how they go ahead and respond to that to really make an assessment.
Okay. We got company waiting, but before you go, I just want to know, do you have an official pick for this series? Who do you have coming out?
Mine's always been the Warriors. Okay. I may extend it a little bit, though. I initially had Warriors in 6. Now I'm leaning more towards Warriors in 7. I think this goes the distance. So I'm going to stick with the Warriors.
LeBron James never lost a game 7.
Oh, wow.
It would be interesting.
Maybe it will be interesting.
All right, Ash. We'll be right back, guys.
Tonight, 2023 MVP from the Philadelphia 76ers.
Sweet. Ooh, excuse me. That made me sneeze. Emotions make me sneeze. See that?
Joel Embiid won the MVP. We are joined by Imman Adan from Yahoo Sports Canada and Siobhan Beslow of the Miami Heat Beat. Welcome.
Hey, Nat. I'm
so excited to have this discussion with you ladies about just with three people who love basketball as much as me. There was a lot of debate around this MVP race. Some may say that it got toxic. Imman, you and I have spoken about it before. Ashley, I've definitely seen some of your tweets and takes on the timeline. I was incredibly vocal about it too. So I'm going to start with Siobhan because I don't know where you stand, but I'm really happy to see Joel win. I actually thought he should have won last year. And I think my only takeaway from this, I'm glad to see how happy he is. It was a very divisive race, maybe a little bit more than normal. But I just don't like some of the commentary like, oh, now who's next? Or like some way suggesting that he wasn't a worthy MVP candidate. I think there were 3 MVP candidates, Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. I think they all had individual great cases. And if any of them won, I think they were deserving. So that's the only thing I want to push back against. But otherwise, I'm curious to know what you think, Siobhan. Was Embiid your MVP?
I would say for me personally, he was because I had begun to really see the way that I've been wanting him to play. Like he's been dominant this season. And I think you saw towards the end of last season, what makes me most happy for someone like him is to see him better taking care of his body, to see him like approaching the game, like from what feels like a more serious standpoint, like, really, really focusing and locking in on just what he needs to do both inside the lines and out and just taking care of himself. So I give him the MVP. I agree with you, Nat, that some of the comments around it have been weird. Like, if Jokic is your vote, give him your vote. Don't not give it because, I don't want him to have 3 in a row or whatever. Just like, not incendiary. I think that's a bit strong, but, I guess to your overall sentiment of trying to minimize either 3 of their seasons, what their impact are to their team. There's a way to bolster the people that you like without denigrating or just being unjustly or unnecessarily rude or just, kind of condescending to other people in the race. So I'm happy for him. And, I hope he continues to play dominant. And if we see them later, we see them later. But I'm not upset with that. And I can understand, I guess, too, thinking he should have won it last year.
Yeah, for the record, I'm one of the no 3 in a row people. So I just want to be on the record about that. But Ashley, I'm curious, what do you think? Do you think Embiid deserved it, or did you have another pick?
For me, it was Jokic through most of the year. I think it was highly impressive what he was doing. I mean, averaging a triple-double. And also the Nuggets were the number 1 seed throughout the entire season. That's extremely hard to do. We know how much the standings and the seeding fluctuates throughout the season. The Nuggets stayed steady, and a lot of that was because of the incredible performances that Jokic was giving night in and night out. Now, I will say the NBA, like most sports, is a what have you done for me lately league. And I will say in the last month of the season, Embiid kind of pulled ahead of him a little bit because of the games that he was having. And also, if you remember, the Nuggets went on that little bit of a losing streak with Jokic on the floor. Now, some people will look at a season as a whole, like I do, and say that doesn't really matter. Look at what he has done throughout the course of a season. But I can also understand people have short-term memories in sports, and Embiid kind of solidified himself as the MVP in that last month. I'm with you, Nat. I think that it really only came down ever to 3 people, Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. And I want to say in the last month and a half, for me personally, it was between Embiid and Jokic. One of them win it. I'm okay with either decision. I didn't have an issue with Jokic possibly winning 3 in a row, but I also didn't have an issue with Embiid winning this award. I think they were both exceptional candidates for it. And I agree. I do think that there was more infamy surrounding this MVP conversation than I feel like we've ever had before. And I don't like the racial baiting that kind of went into this discussion, because like we have said on this panel, and we have said time and time again, they were both deserving candidates, had incredible seasons, and I don't think that conversation was necessary, but I'm also happy to just put that to bed and never have to talk about it again. So congrats, Embiid. I know you wanted it. Some people said you should have got it last season. I'm glad you got it. You got one. The emotions were there. I'm glad to never have this conversation again in life. Thank you. Thank you.
Imman, last word on this before we move on.
I think you guys hit on a lot of like the key points, and I'm with Ashley on the point of that last month really turned the tide for me of this conversation. You had Jokic losing a lot. The Nuggets were floundering. People were really worried about them, and the Sixers have a better record than them now, right? Like if the two match up in the finals, the Sixers will be the team with home court advantage in that situation. Also, when it's so close, when it's this tight of a race, you're splitting hairs and you have to find what differentiates guys. And for Embiid, that game that he had against the Celtics where he put up that 52-point game like that, while the Nuggets were floundering, I think really turned the tide in his favor because it is a what have you done for me lately league. But also, we saw Embiid and Jokic match up for a game this season. And I think that was one of the biggest ones in terms of turning the tide for the MVP race. And Embiid had 47 points in that one. So, when you're talking about dominant performances, I think Embiid did it when they mattered. I think the fact that Jokic has won 2 before also influenced it. But yeah, to me, it seemed like in the last month, the conversation was had and it was Embiid's to lose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the MVP is coming back tonight. It was announced earlier that he's going to be back for game 2, which surprised me a little bit because with vintage Harden showing up and giving the Sixers game 1 in the series, I didn't expect him to come back tonight. And also just the news around the severity of his injury seemed like he was going to be out a little bit longer. So, but it was announced he's coming back. So, Imman, I want to start here with you because I know you were going back and forth with Celtics Mafia about this series and how close the teams are. And, Harden showed up and got the win for the Sixers and he put them in a good position. So what are your thoughts so far? Only one game played. We're going to get game 2. What do you think?
I'm a Harden believer, I think, and that's like a rare thing for people to be in the playoffs. But to me, the conversation in the Eastern Conference was always that you had 3 teams at the top, and shout out to Siobhan's Miami Heat for taking out one of them in the Milwaukee Bucks, and then it was the Celtics and the Sixers. So I always saw it as a tiered system in the Eastern Conference, and it didn't make sense to me that we were having these conversations about just the Bucks and the Celtics and everybody else when it felt like the Sixers were very clearly in that class. And I think they proved that with their play. And I think we saw it in game 1. Also, my whole conversation about the Celtics is their defenses looked a little shaky. And in the playoffs right now, they would have the worst defense of any team that's made it to the second round. In their last 5 games, they would have a defensive rating that's worse than the San Antonio Spurs, who were the 30th ranked defense in the NBA. They're struggling right now defensively. We saw that game 1, their offense was clicking, their offense was humming, and it has been all playoffs, but they haven't really been able to stop guys. And that allows guys, when you have wings like a Harden, like a Maxey, and you have a big like an Embiid, to me, I think the Celtics have a lot more issues than people are making it seem like, and it's very clear that the Bucks did as well. And so I didn't understand the tiered system in the Eastern Conference that had the Sixers, below them. It very much felt like the Sixers were at the top there. Series is still over. Early. It can go to the Celtics. They can win the next 3-4. It wouldn't surprise me because I think the Sixers also were flawed, but we're starting to see a lot of the cracks with the Celtics. We're starting to see a lot of the flaws, and namely, it's their defense right now. And part of that is Al Horford is a lot older and can't guard in space, and we're seeing them constantly and consistently attack him, and he was such an integral part to what they did last season, and he's looking a year older right now. It's starting to show.
Yeah, Ashley, I loved your feed item on this. The Celtics love playing with their food.
Yeah.
I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but I remember I previewed that series and I was just like, don't play with your food, Celtics. And that's how I felt. So what are your thoughts so far initially on this series?
Look, nobody thought James Harden was going to go ahead and turn back the hands of time, right? Now, the question mark with him, much like with Anthony Davis, Nat, like we were talking about with the Lakers series, Can he do it consistently? Because you're going to have to do it consistently. I don't know what percentage of Joel Embiid you're going to get. I'm going to lean towards he's not 100%. He's going to play through whatever issue he's dealing with, whatever pain he's dealing with, but you're not going to get 100% of him, at least not right now, or maybe not at all throughout this series. So the Celtics need to go ahead and capitalize off of that. I think that they need to figure out what the hell went wrong in game one. There was no reason why a Joel Embiid-less 76ers team should have beaten you. I don't care what kind of performance James Harden had. You had a lot more firepower on the floor to go ahead and pull out a win. But we've seen this with the Celtics. I agree, defensively, there are holes in their game, but offensively, they have done enough to go ahead and consistently overpower that. They're a deep team. We saw this with the Atlanta series. For some reason, they have a bad habit of playing down to their competition. And I'm not saying the 76ers are drastically below them, but we talk about depth and we talk about complete teams. The Celtics are a better one from that side of the argument. So for whatever reason, they cannot seem to go ahead and close these games out when they need the most. And they need to figure out why. Because if you only get a fraction of the version of James Harden that you saw in game one, and you get a fraction of a healthy Joel Embiid, and the Celtics continue to play the game the way they have been playing, they're in for a rude awakening. And every mistake you make against a 76ers team, this is not Atlanta, this is not the Spurs, this is not the Houston Rockets. They will go ahead and capitalize that, and you're going to be in a deep hole that I don't think you want to be in. So they need to figure that out, and they need to figure out those adjustments quickly.
Yeah, Siobhan, you know this team intimately because your Heat played them last year, and they always seem to play them tough. So I want to know your thoughts on this series, but if the Heat are to advance, which I know Ash wouldn't want, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I mean, who would you prefer to see, the Celtics again or the Sixers? I think you're on mute.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. I think I would prefer to see the Celtics much for the reason why even a hobbled Joel Embiid is a lot to handle. Like, Joel is the reason I wouldn't want to see the Sixers. One, I think the Celtics series last playoffs was extremely tough. The whole we lost by one shot, I don't quite lean all the way into there, but I do know that there were weaknesses in the Celtics defense last season that were there to be exploited, but for whatever reason, we didn't have the manpower to exploit it. Tyler was hurt that series, and Tyler, I've said this before, Tyler's game is one that was so well suited for the Celtics series last season because of his maneuverability, his ability to get kind of into those small pockets that the Celtics relied on creating in their like really well-controlled drop. So because of that, and I think what you've seen from Miami this season, or at least this playoff run, the quarter end of the season, actually into the playoffs, was our role players, the guys that helped bolster this team. They began to find themselves. We began to shoot better. Confidence began to rise. Jimmy continued to round into the form that he's looked. He's just been awesome. He's been dominant. And I think now, even with Tyler out, like, I wouldn't mind going at the Celtics again. We seem to have Philly's numbers sometimes, but I just don't want to gamble with something that I really, really value in a Joel, in a size, a skill, just the ability to dominate. We can't match that from a size perspective. We don't have James Harden is a really just raw offensive talent. It's arguable whether or not we have that without Tyler on the floor. So I think we match up well with the Celtics. I don't know who I think wins that series. I think Philly wins that series, but I don't. If it goes 6-7, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I would like to see the Celtics if it happens. If it's the Sixers, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I have the Celtics in 7. What's your pick, Ash?
I had Celtics in 6, but just like the Lakers Warriors series, I'm going to go ahead and extend that. I think it goes 7 as well, but I'm still sticking with Boston.
What about you, Imman?
I go back and forth. I really would like to see what adjustments the Celtics in particular make. Like, are you going to start Rob Williams? Is Al Horford going to come off the bench? What do you do there? And how do the Celtics continue to sort of...
I think you have to start. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I know, but like, what? No, I
like that.
You have like I'm interested to see what sort of adjustments Joe Mazzulla makes, because right now it's very clear that yes, the Celtics can score with the best of them, but you're gonna have Joel Embiid there. It's not gonna be a layup line like it was in Game 1, and so that makes me a little scared. But of course, with Joel Embiid being kind of iffy, I might lean Celtics in 7. But that's just because I don't trust Joel Embiid's health. If he were healthy, the Sixers have been my pick in that matchup, just because I think people are overlooking some really big defensive holes for the Celtics, and that's just masked by some elite 3-point shooting that they've had all year. And we've seen that sort of fail teams at times.
Okay, well, we're going to keep it in the East, and we're going to take it to New York, because I wanted to save the best for last, because, listen, I'm not a Jimmy Butler believer, so I know that doesn't make Siobhan happy, and I have doubted the Knicks all season, but both of these teams have shocked me and surprised me, and, like, now that series is really interesting to me, but I must say, the Heat being able to almost win that game last night with no Jimmy on the floor, I don't know, Ash. What's up with your Knicks?
I'm not too worried about that. It definitely was somewhat concerning in the moment. I think Tibbs made the right adjustments down the stretch, though. It was Julius Randle's first game back after his ankle situation. Also, our bench didn't do what it normally does, and that's produce points. So I think that also was the biggest X on the mark. Obi Toppin didn't have that great of a game. Emmanuel quickly got hot a little bit too late in the game. That's normally not something that happens. Quentin Grimes was missing shots that he normally hits. So I'm not worried about that. The bench didn't go ahead and normally give us what they're used to giving us. But I will say this. That game was a must win. You have to win when Jimmy Butler's not on the court. Now both Jimmy Butler and Julius Randle are going to have ample time to deal with their ankle situation. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson got hot later in the game. He was looking a little iffy too with his sore ankle. I think down the stretch, like I said, that second half, more specifically, the Knicks made the right adjustments to go ahead and do the things that they needed to do to win that game. I think it's going to be interesting, though, when we bring it to Miami for Game 3, Game 4, and eventually as this series continues, health permitted, you're going to have both teams at full strength. Now, when I say full strength, obviously the Heat are without Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo, which makes them a little bit at a deficit when it comes to scoring. But as you can see, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, those guys can always step up. Max Strus. It's going to be interesting to see what Game 3, Game 4 looks like. I think Game 3 is going to be the true indicator of who the leader in this series is. You had Game 1, you didn't have Julius Randle. Game 2, you didn't have Jimmy Butler. Game 3, I'm assuming they both will be back. Whoever wins that game, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm leaning towards wins that series.
Okay. What was your initial pick coming into the series?
I had Knicks in 6, baby. Come on, don't ask me silly questions.
And that's still nothing has changed?
I'm still Knicks in 6. I'm sticking with it. I'm still sticking with it.
All right. Siobhan, what say you?
Are you asking my prediction? Okay. So I have Miami in 6. I think last night was probably the best loss I've ever seen. I've never felt better about a loss. Yes, Ashley, like y'all needed to win one. Like that was a must win, but I think it needed to feel more like a win. Like I don't know that New York fans feel confident in what
it felt like a win. It felt like a win.
Well,
7th Avenue was crowded. It was lit. It felt like a win.
All right. Well, if that felt
Don't
like
take away from
superstar
Scott Foster. Don't dim his light.
Please,
we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that.
No. What I'm saying is Miami. So without their leader, without the dude who put like 37 and a half consistently on Milwaukee, Miami was still able to. I think they played a pretty composed game, and they still had places, pockets of improvement, missed rotations, missed assignments. That stretch of it was like 3 of 5 possessions that we didn't cover out, and Jalen and Josh Hart, was just open in the corner. Like we had a lot of mental lapses, but we also did a lot of things well. You all shot really well from the outside. Game 2, I'm happy with the way that we protected the paint a bit better. I'd much rather live with cutting New York's paint touches and paint activity, the dynamicism of a Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, their ability to get, north and south. I'd much rather show that I'm better able to handle that and see if your shooters are going to shoot as well as they did in Game 2 in Miami. And I just, from what I've watched over the course of, like I said, really, really the last quarter of this season, Miami has really, really just been tightening the gears kind of on all levels. It was so cool being in the press conference and hearing the way that the Jimmys and the Bams and Coach Spo, they really, really have instilled an incredible amount of confidence in Caleb and Max and Gabe and all of Duncan when he's in. Like, all of these guys feel that they have to be impactful and it does something, especially for a team that's made up the way that they are. They're always one that needs all of their pieces to kind of do the things that they're supposed to do right at the right time. We were down, I think, 5 dunk. They made the substitution on the baseline out of bounds. Duncan come in, knocks a 3. Stuff like that. That air ball, it does hit the rim. Gabe's right there. That's a layup. Like we've gone about our process as well for the most part all season, and the results are paying off. And I give homage to the way that they continue to just go about the business. They don't ever really panic much about themselves. And I think you saw Jimmy, the shot of him at the bench, just kind of nodding his head. Like, he felt good about what he saw from his team last night, knowing that he wasn't there. I had Miami in 6. I'm not going to do a lot and say I've lowered it to 5. I'm not going to. I put a lot of value in Julius Randle. I think Jalen and Josh are really good. And I think RJ Grimes, I really like the pieces that New York has, but I really like the way that we feel right now. I'm going to stay Miami in 6, but I think it's a fun series.
Okay, well, Imman, I know that you've been paying close attention to this series because Kyle Lowry is your guy. So he stepped up huge in this series. I can't, this series just surprises me. So what are the keys for the Knicks going into Miami and stealing one of those games and getting a split and getting back their home court advantage?
Okay, so one thing, I gotta ride for Heat beat if you're not going to Siobhan. Heat in 5. What are we doing?
Come on, yes, I'm trying to be measured a little bit.
No, but here's the thing. We saw Spo really play a ton of zone, right? And the Heat got absolutely destroyed on the glass there. And the Knicks were hitting their shots. That's what you got to do. That's hit your outside shots if they're going to play that much zone and just absolutely destroy them on the glass. I think Bam is going to have to be bigger. I think even in terms of Kyle, I have to come at him. He was really passive, especially in that sort of second half. And we saw Jalen Brunson get going. You need to sort of have your main guys, as much as you want the Struces and the Vincents and the Caleb Barnes to go off. You need to have Bam and Kyle also take on a lot of that offensive load. Maybe Kyle can't do it because he's 37 years old. You got to give him 2 days in between, 3-day break. But Bam's really got to be a lot more aggressive. 10 shots is just not enough if the Heat are going to continue to do this, especially with Jimmy being hobbled and out there. But I think the Knicks still have a path. We've seen it. This series has been very close, but I think the Heat, I'm with Siobhan, should feel very confident about that loss. I thought the process was good. I think you need, I didn't like I'm trying to find a way to sort of phrase this without coming really at Bam Adebayo, but I would just love to see him a little bit more aggressive. And I think the Knicks can sort of look at this and say, hey, if we make our outside shots and if we absolutely destroy them on the glass, we have something here. And hopefully Scott Foster can ref another couple of games for them and Knicks in 6.
No, I got to give my co-host the last word.
We're not going to do that. Hold on a second. We're not going to do that. The Heat did not lose that game because of Scott Foster. Let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due. Yeah. Eric Spoelstra himself even said the same thing.
For sure.
Bad decision making down the stretch. And also, Nat, have you ever been to a Heat game?
Yes, I have.
Miami?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's home court advantage for 3 and 4 also, all right? This is the 6th borough. Come correct. Just know that, all right? It's going to be a whole lot of Knicks fans in the arena, and I will be one of them. Thank you very much.
I knew you were not going to let them tag team you like that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, it is a home court advantage for 3 and 4 for us also. Call it MSG number 2.
Okay. Imman, Siobhan, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. We need to come back after this series is over and regroup and see what happens.
Thank you, Nat. Good to talk to you.
Thanks.
Without a shadow of a doubt, you don't need a bench to win in the NBA.
Kevin Durant had 29 points. Booker had 27 points. They did their thing. Where was Adan? Where was Chris Paul? That's why they lost.
That's not why they lost. They don't have a bench to go ahead and not only one relieve.
I don't need a bench.
You 100%
No, I
need
don't.
a
You know
bench
what I
when you're
need? Let me
going
tell you what I need. I
Playing
need
against the
Adan
Nuggets,
or Chris Paul to go 20-plus points or go 3 for 6 from the 3 or 3 for 5 from 3. That's it.
And if I could sing and dance, I would be Beyonce. You're asking for a lot of things to happen for the Suns to beat a team that is deep. This Denver team does not need Jokic to score 35 to win.
What I'm saying is this. They have enough to get the job done. Those 4 guys, I don't give a damn. They only have 8 guys total. They don't have a full bench. Those guys have enough to beat this Nuggets team.
What's another name for a roster?
I don't know.
A depth chart. The Suns don't have depth. That is a problem.
You don't need depth when you have Kevin Durant.
Oh my God.
Ashley.
I'm exhausted. I'm physically, emotionally exhausted.
You had a glass of wine after that, huh?
I just can't. Can't.
Welcome to the show, Mark Spears of Anscape. But Ashley, I thought was spot on, and my favorite part was, what is another word? What did you ask? I mean, that
I said, what's another name for a roster? A depth chart. It's literally in the word.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
You know, there was a NBA assistant coach that I know really well, very sharp. He was telling me that one of the problems with Phoenix is, you know, Chris Paul has constantly had these injuries. And actually, to your point, like the depth matters. He felt like if they had a point guard that was capable of, you know, going 20 to 25 minutes a game, like Kyle Lowry has somebody in Miami to do that for him, right? Then they felt like Chris could be more effective, healthier, that, you know, right now the threshold for him is probably about 25 minutes a game. And after that, he's more susceptible to injury. That's the problem with the Suns right now is now that Chris is out, it makes it already even tougher. So you need guys to spell KD. You need guys to give you some scoring off the bench. And right now, I mean, when Denver plays, they just keep coming in waves. They got guys like KCP and like Uncle Jeff. They just got so many talented players that you can't take a break when you're playing them.
Yeah, I mean, we saw there was reporting from Shams. The Suns are preparing to not have Chris Paul for games 3 through 5. And then we're here talking about like the benches. And look at the difference in what you're getting, you know, from Denver versus the Suns. So, and KD and Book are already sort of playing high minutes totals so far in these playoffs. So I'm just curious, Mark, what do the Suns do now? I mean, they have like a long layoff, but what do they do now with the series shifting back to Phoenix, down Chris Paul, already having a bench depth that's non-existent?
Right? I mean, it's probably going to have to push KD and Book's minutes up even more. But also on the defensive end, they got to stop those guys too. And they're kind of like perimeter oriented, shooting a lot of threes, you know, spread the court. They're a really, really hard team to guard. And then Joker's just a magical passer who gets his guys in open spots, and just watching them play, man, it's beautiful to watch him play. They just got too much, and that has been the strength of their team. I think now with Denver, this is their chance to show the world how good they are. I will admit, I've been one of the skeptics, you know, as to how good this team really is. And it took that first Suns game for me to realize, okay, they are truly for real. The assistant coach, Popeye Jones, keeps telling me that, but I said, I need to see them play somebody that could throw a punch. And right now, they knocked out the team that I think a lot of people and even myself expected to be the best team in the Western Conference, and that's the Phoenix Suns.
It's actually really interesting when you think about it, when this team traded for Kevin Durant. I mean, the formula or the failure, rather, of a top-heavy offense is well documented. We saw it with the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant's last team. Not even particularly this version of the Brooklyn Nets, the version before that even more so. So it's interesting that the Phoenix Suns see that out there multiple times not working and still make a trade that puts them in that very position. And you're also not trading, I'm a big Kevin Durant fan, but let's be honest, you're not trading for a 25-year-old version of him. You're trading for a 30-plus version who's had multiple injuries, who's fresh off an injury this season. So while, yes, I think that talent can override depth, I think that only applies when the other team that you're facing doesn't have it. If they were facing a Denver team that was just as top-heavy as they were, I could say this series can go either way. Neither of them will have a bench. Both their guys got to score at least 35 a game, play 40-plus minutes. That's all they got. But you're playing a team that doesn't need Jokic to score 35 to win. In game one, he scored 24. They washed the Phoenix Suns. That is hard to compete with when you don't have it. And yes, I know people will say, well, in the playoffs, you go down to a 7-8 man rotation, 9 if you're really deep. Okay, but they don't even have that. They barely have that. So when we're talking about the Phoenix Suns, we're really talking about a 4-man rotation, maybe 5 at most, probably more like 4 now that you don't have Chris Paul. There's nothing there except Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And I don't know how you go ahead and combat what Denver has.
Well, one guy that they got to dust off is TJ Warren. I don't really understand why he's not playing. This is a guy that put up 50 in the bubble, I believe. Certainly capable of scoring. He's got to get in there, get going. He's kind of one of their only hopes off the bench, and really have been confused on why he's not in the rotation. I thought he was going to have a major impact in the team. Maybe you have to play Terrence Ross more, a veteran guy. He'll probably see more time now that Chris Paul is out. But he's a guy that's been there, done that. Shamet's going to have to hit some threes for him. Same with Damian Lee. But, Kevin Durant is special. Book is special. And I know DeAndre Ayton yearns to be viewed as an all-star in this league, yearns to be viewed as one of the elite players of this league, and this is his chance. The series truly doesn't start till a team loses at home, right? So if you think about it, in a sense, Phoenix is really even till they lose at home. Ayton, got to show up. This is your time to show people that you are one of the special players in this league. I definitely think he has a talent to do it.
Here goes Natalie.
Now it's time. Now it's time for him to be special on both ends of the floor.
Get your popcorn ready, Mark, because Natalie's about to show you why she can't stand Kevin Durant and why she was blocked by Kevin Durant on Twitter. Go ahead, Nat.
You were blocked by
Show
him?
the people.
Oh, yeah, you putting all my business in the street? And I tweeted about you for real. He blocked me. I did not even know. I saw that he was tweeting about Steph's epic Game 7 performance, and I wanted to, get the tweet. And I'm like, I go to get it, and I'm like, I'm blocked.
What you did. What did you do?
I mean, I didn't do anything to him personally, but he probably does not like my commentary on him, and I mean, It's my opinion. I'm not out here calling the man names. Chris Paul, he may have a right to really block me, but Kevin Durant, I'm just like, you got swept.
Maybe it's out of
and I
respect
think
for
Stephen
Chris
Curry
Paul.
is a better player than you. So he doesn't like my opinions. That's fine. But I really don't have any direct.
Hey, that's journalism, baby. Had that tough skin.
It's okay.
Everybody ain't gonna love you.
Trust me, I'm not upset over it. And I don't even want to go in on the Suns. I think they're cooked personally. So, but I'm still not sold on Denver. So all of this everyone's going crazy over Denver. Bro, it was the Timberwolves. And now you're playing 3 people on the Suns. So I'm not moved. I'm not moved by it.
They got that number 1 seed, and they're getting the benefit of having that number 1 seed. But I want Denver to show me they are for real.
Yes.
I told Popeye Jones, y'all supposed to be in the finals. You've been the number 1 seed from beginning to end. the best team from the West from beginning to end. So this is theirs to lose, right? They're going to have home court in the next series, assuming they win. They're supposed to be in the finals. Anything short of being in the finals for them is a disappointing season. Like, you don't have they've been running this race ahead of everybody from the start of the season. So there's no, like, they're supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be beating up the 4th seed. They're supposed to be great. And they have been. They've been living up to it. But anything short of the finals, to me, is a disappointment for the Denver Nuggets because they've been the true dominant team in the league from beginning to end. But I'm going to tell you, I covered the Nuggets for 8 years. And I shouldn't let the past, hold me down. But something always happens to them. They're like the Clippers. Hey, something always. They're like the Clippers, man. Something always happens to the Nuggets, man. Every time. Just when you ready to buy, then that fool's gold takes place. So, but they definitely have the talent to finally prove everybody wrong. Let's see. They're supposed to be there.
Yeah, we'll see. Marc, thank you for joining us. Always love having you. Cannot wait to see you again.
Yeah, glad to be on Sister to Sister. Great show.
If you ever wondered why the Memphis Grizzlies is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball. And yet, you running around talking about a dynasty? The dynasty starts after you, not with you.
Well, this was pathetic. This was pathetic from Draymond Green, Ashley. And
my God.
Yeah, the Grizzlies said under no circumstances they are not bringing him back. And some people actually don't like the way they're handling this, including Steven Jackson, who was on I Am Athlete. And I saw that you tweeted and you disagreed with him because he thought they were maybe doing Dillon a little wrong. There have been some others who've had commentary. So what is your take on this and the way they're handling the Dillon situation?
Real quick, I mean, I don't like that it got leaked, but that's the name of the game, unfortunately, when it comes to media, the NBA media specifically. But let's be honest, Dillon Brooks is not getting blackballed by the Memphis Grizzlies, if that's what you want to call it, because he went at LeBron. He provided an unnecessary distraction, an additional distraction. You're not going to get rid of John Morant. So the John Morant distractions are relevant at this point because he's your superstar. You're not going to get rid of him. But not only did he provide an additional distraction, he also didn't produce on the court. So you can't do both. So that's what we are. Here we go. Bye.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.